Ruben's been here for a while. Ruben's a mechanical engineer who came with the whole family to our beautiful country in 2004. He started working as an engineer, and however, he decided to learn about real estate in Canada through books and seminars around 2006. Then, along with his wife, Mary Lou, they purchased their first home in 2007 in Port Coquitlam, rented it out in 2009, and purchased another home in North Vancouver. After joining REAG, so you've been with us about 10 years.
I was trying to find out when I joined, but around 2012 or something.
One of the old guard, one of the warriors.
Yeah.
So after joining us, he started looking at different types of real estate. And it was in 2015 when he and Mary Lou took a trip to Windsor in Sarnia, Ontario to see some houses. They ended up finding a sixth place that's $350,000, all rented. So they decided to purchase it with an investor from REAG. Other buildings were for sale. They raised additional capital from more investors, and now the portfolio includes, get this, 52 doors and 137 units of self-storage. Now, folks, we opened up the round table on Thursday night at the business planning session, and Ruben came and he started talking about self-storage. I'm telling you, the guy's face is lit up like a Christmas tree. He looks like a 6-year-old in front of that Christmas tree talking about self-storage. And that's why I asked him to join us. And so I guess you've been investing for about 10, 15, I guess it starts with owning where you live, so about 15 years. And I guess, how did you decide to rent it out? Did you have a basement suite first, or?
No, he had a basement suite, but it was an interesting story. We live in North Vancouver when we came from Honduras, and it was nice. So we sold the house in Honduras, so we had some money to buy here, but it was a little bit expensive in North Van. So started looking in Port Coquitlam, and we found a nice house. And I think the true story is I miscalculated the commuting time, and so we moved to Port Coquitlam. And we both, Marilu and I, we were working in the North Shore. The kids actually were going to Sutherland. And so it was, after a few months of commuting, it was too hard. So we had to find a solution to move back to the North Shore and rent out, that house in Port Coquitlam. And then after, we live about 1 more year here in the North Shore renting an townhouse. And then 2008, 2009 came in, so there was a kind of a window of opportunity to buy this townhouse that we live in now. So that's kind of the story in 2009. Yeah.
So you must be happy in that townhouse then.
Oh yeah, plenty of space in here. 3 levels, a lot of woods here in the back. It's like living in the forest in here, close to Capilano College.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know the commute. I lived in Poco and worked downtown. Man, yeah. It's mind-numbing. I bring cassette tapes with motivational training or sales training or whatever just to listen to.
Yeah.
So, Ontario. So, what happened with Ontario? You went on a trip there, or did you go purposely looking for real estate?
Well, no, it was actually coming from a couple of sources. A couple of friends that I met, not in REAG, they were already buying this small houses, they call it, in Sarnia in Windsor. And then Ralph started talking also about these houses, and I told my wife, I said, why don't we take a trip, like a vacation, and see what they're talking about. I didn't even know where Sarnia was, so I look at him in the map and say, oh, it's kind of close to Windsor. So we had a couple of friends in Windsor, so we went there for about a week, and we went around. We didn't like it, Marilu didn't like it. But then we went to Sarnia, and right when we got to Sarnia, I said, this town is actually, it's a nice town right on the lake, on the river. So I met a realtor, and then a couple of months later, he told me, I didn't like these small houses that they were talking about. So I said, well, what about a small multifamily? So then he sent me this 6-plex. In Sarnia, nothing actually was selling. There were a lot of listings, and this multifamily was there for months and months and months. So I presented in one of the meetings in REAG, and that's how the whole thing started with the 6-plex. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you don't really often hear that I took a vacation to Windsor, Ontario.
No. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you presented that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got an apartment building, fully rented.
Yeah.
So did you like make a low offer on it or creatively?
No, not really. It was a straight purchase. I mean, the guys wanted to retire. Nobody wanted to buy the building. I went to see it, and it was a nice sixplex, and it's still there. I mean, we have improved a lot. And then the same guys, about 3 months later, they called me and they said that they had a 22-unit townhouse across the street. So I look at that one, and that was a little bit, higher in price, 1.4 million, right? But the cash flow that building had, it was, so that's why we went in there and we started, with this, because the price rent ratio was working on this building. I say was working, it's not working anymore. Not today with the prices of the buildings.
Right. 22 units? Did you say it's 1.4 million? 22 units?
Yes.
Oh, holy smokes. No wonder you're smiling all the time.
Well, that building today, I can tell you, is over 3.5 million today.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. And it's all rented and all that?
It's all rented and the cash flows, yeah.
Was it all rented when you got it?
Yeah, but very bad tenants. I mean, we had to do a cleanup. It took us about 3 years, technically, to do a cleanup on that building and renovate the units and the washer and dryer. The same ideas that, talking about in REAG. We have a few units with the washer and dryer set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So was the public storage next after that?
Well, no, we got another building, another 18 unit, and then another fiveplex. That was a couple of years ago, and so the self-storage came in at the end of 2019. My realtor called me and he said that this lady wanted to retire. She had this self-storage for 15 years, and I said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. And so the same investors on the 22 unit, they kind of like the idea. Say, okay, well, put the money together, and so we purchased it for 750s with 83 units and in 4 buildings. So.
Wow. And that's on a piece of land, that one?
It's in actually 2 pieces of land. It's 2 addresses, one across the street. It's about close to 1.5 acres in total. So he had a space available to expand, which is one of the key things that I will mention later. But it is good to have land for expansion on these facilities. And so we're just completing the 5th building, a new building. Next month in September we're gonna open. So we put in another 26 unit building in there next to the other ones. So that will increase the cash flow, because the other ones are 95%. This is running about 95% occupancy in that town.
So it sort of fell into your lap because the guy.
Yeah.
And where is that one? That's in Sarnia?
That one is about 20 minutes outside of Sarnia. It's called Wyoming, and a lot of people they say, well, are you investing in the US? He said, no, it's a Wyoming town in Ontario, and so it's close by. So the property manager that we have in Sarnia also kind of looks out at this facility in Wyoming.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So, with that, what challenges did you have? Any major challenges you were talking about in the other building? 3 years to clean up and tenants, etc.
Yeah, the major challenges was that we had to learn very fast, how to implement the software to rent online, because that's the only way. The previous owner was doing everything with a notebook. I saw the notebook. She was keeping tab of everything in a notebook for 15 years, and I said that's not the way to run this facility. So we got the software, we got Moneris, we got the credit card. We had to learn how to do the marketing and all of that in a span of about maybe 2 months. But the advantage is that facility had about 70 clients, and some of them, amazingly, they've been there for 7 years. I mean, they've been storing things in there for 7 years. So it's an advantage, but at the same is a disadvantage because you cannot increase the prices too much, right? But it worked. I mean, it was cash flowing, so we didn't worry too much. The only thing was, well, we're gonna rent the ones that were empty because there were about 10 empty ones when we took over. Now we got only one today, right? So that's how those facilities are running. The demand is very high everywhere.
And so Moneris, that's the payment system, right?
It's the payment system. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where you're building the new building that's coming up in September?
Yes. Yeah, that's where we're doing the new building. But after that one is when it came the other one that we acquired in September in the township of Champlain. This is in Eastern Ontario. So that's kind of the story and the challenge, because this was an abandoned property with two buildings that I kind of run on Kijiji. I was looking on Kijiji and I saw these two buildings that sold in, $450,000, and then I called the realtor, and so the land is 22.8 acres of land in about 1 hour from Ottawa and about 1 hour from Montreal, kind of right in the middle. So kind of caught my attention. I said, well, it's kind of strange that this property has been sitting here for a couple of years and nobody look at it. These two buildings might be worth. I knew that every building costs about $150,000 to $200,000 to build. So right there, the cost of the buildings was kind of the price of the property. So we took the risk. We took over in September, completely empty, and all high grass and abandoned for almost 10 years. So we put all the money. I went there. I saw the buildings. I opened every single unit and I said everything is working in here. So we put it to work. We did it very fast. We had to do a big fence around 2 acres of land because the city will not give us a permit to operate. We had to fix some of the things on the building. We put cameras, we put lights, we cut the grass, all of that before the winter, because the winter in that area is very heavy. So I knew that I had to put it before the winter. And so we got our first client on November 15th. So we were happy. We rented one unit, and it's 56 units. So we rented one unit in November 15th. And today we have 45 units rented. So in about 6 months, we achieve about 80% occupancy on that facility. Yeah.
That's excellent. So I know the answer, but so what are the upsides of self-storage ownership versus other forms of real estate investment?
Well, since we have the other buildings, right, we have enough data to compare. And one of the and this pandemic actually made it more clear, right? The self-storage is very recession resistant, I call it, because during this 12 months, we didn't have any people not paying rent. We've been running over 90% in Wyoming and now 80% in Champlain. But the main thing I think is the debt, the bad debt percentage. Any one of these facilities is running very minimal, less than 1%, and nobody defaults, because if someone doesn't pay, 5 days later we go and we put an overlock, a red lock on the unit so they cannot access it. There is no tenancy act, there is no tribunal that we have to go through, nothing like that, right? And so that's a big plus, because we have suffered big time in the buildings in Sarnia because of the politics in Ontario, big time. Huge amount of money, right, that we have lost. So, but we recovered. But in the self-storage, nothing, not even $100. I can tell you that. That's how it works.
You mean in not paying of rents in the apartments?
Yeah, not paying the rents on the apartments. Yes, correct. So the other big advantage is the expense to income ratio. The buildings, an old building runs between 55 to 60% ratio. The self-storage run about 35 to 40%. So right there, you got a big margin of profit that is built in because there is low maintenance, there is no water, there is no gas. I mean, the utilities, the electricity is only used for the exterior lights. And yeah, by the way, we don't have any bulbs inside the units. We don't have any electrical inside the units. It's too risky because people will go and plug in things in there. They plug in refrigerators and things like that. So we don't do that.
So yours isn't deluxe. That's Ozzy's old joke. What's the difference between a regular storage unit and a deluxe storage?
Yes.
So deluxe is a light bulb.
Yeah, not deluxe, but it rents out. They don't. Yeah, we just put good lights on the outside. Yeah.
So would you do anything differently, if anything, if you could go back and redo it?
I think I will learn more about self-storage, about how to manage one of these facilities. I've been learning a lot through there is a very strong association called Canadian Self-Storage Association, and they put all these meetings together. These big guys like from Public Storage, from U-Haul, from Maple Leaf, they all come in here and they share how they manage their facilities. It's kind of very, very open, and so we've been learning, through this past year on how to improve this, the facilities from contracting to overlocking and all of that. But I will learn more on that. There's tons of materials on that. And the other thing that I think I will do different is actually find a good lender. We struggle a little bit with that because the banks in Canada, some of the banks, especially some of the big ones, they don't like self-storage. For whatever reason, right? The credit unions, they like self-storage. But what happened is that they don't go over 65% loan to value and only 15 years. So which is, is different than the buildings. There is no CMHC, of course, on that. So working with a good lender or two lenders that are kind of heavy on self-storage, because they are in Canada, I will do that, kind of differently. And the other one is calculate the demand, right? Because there is a way to calculate the demand of self-storage in an area, because not all the self-storages are actually successful. If you don't calculate the demand right, you may not rent or run the facility at 50% occupancy.
That's amazing. Are you going to be investing in any technologies or other services for the clients to make it easier? Or?
Yeah, we from the very beginning, from day one, actually, we got this software called Easy Storage. Easy Storage is very good. They keep track of all the credit card payments and who pays, who doesn't pay. At the same time, they can be interconnected with a keypad if the gate is an electric gate. We don't have electric gates yet. I mean, we're gonna do that investment, but people can go in and get a code and go through a keypad and open the gate. And more heavy technology is coming out right now. You can open your unit with the phone, so the lock is electronic. That is a little bit more expensive, but there are all type of technologies, not heavy man. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to go. It's working right now. You don't need to have. Yeah.
No.
I'm sure the investment, the cost itself, of that is expensive.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess last couple of questions, Ruben, is what's the biggest tip you can give anybody beginning to look at self-storage investments?
Well, like I mentioned before, is learn. There's a lot of material. I mean, even in the association, there's a lot of material or training. Courses like that. The U.S. training is very, very similar. It applies. Everything that they do in the U.S. in self-storage applies in here. So get more, get a lot of knowledge on that. One other important thing is by looking at a facility. When looking at a facility, it has to be some land available to expand. There's no point of going and buying 1 acre with 3 buildings in there. There is no expansion potential, because it's not gonna work, right? So that's another one. And the other one is basically the lender. if they're gonna be using, mortgage, then it's good to kind of find a lender that will be interested on running like that, right? With the self-storage.
So you said you got 23 acres on that one, or 22 point something.
Yeah.
Are you going to build a big, massive 22-acre storage farm there?
Well, that's what the next step comes in, because to develop it requires capital, and the potential is there, but we have to grow with the demand. These two buildings will be rented in, I would say, in a couple of months, but now we have, it takes about a year to put one of these buildings together. So we gotta get ready to put one or two more buildings for next summer, and that requires capital. That's what our next project is.
Right, yeah, that was my last question. What's next for you? Listen, Ruben, thank you so much for this. I was enthralled talking to you Thursday night. I actually talked to my wife. She was, yeah, we're invested into storage in the exempt funds. I was, oh, great! I'm not paying attention to it. So I mean, look at this guy. Those of you who know Ruben, come on. Does he not look younger?
He looks younger.
I think we're all people who can self-storage. Holy smokes. Ruben, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.